Hi everybody and welcome to SARugby magazine. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Kev.
How are you feeling?
A lot stronger by the day. Thank you.
Okay, that's great, man. It's short and concise. I guess the question on my mind and maybe other rugby pundits out there is when is rugby starting for South Africa?
All the indications are in an ideal world, they wanted it to be a competition going by July. The information that I get that it's going to be closer to middle of August, but they'll even go into September. With everything happening in New Zealand and Australia now, they're definitely going to play Australia against New Zealand October, November, 4 Bledisloe Cup games. That was leaked on Sky TV. But Andy Marinos, Sanzar CEO, was interviewed a couple of days ago, and he said they'll do everything to try and get a version of the Rugby Championship played, even if that means locating the teams in New Zealand to play it. And they would look at October, November. There won't be any tours to the Northern Hemisphere, and they'll even take it into the early part of December. And that it would be an 8-week competition structure, and then of those 4 Bledisloe games, 2 of them would be Rugby Championship games. So there seems to be every effort's been made to make sure that there is a form of Rugby Championship campaign. As we spoke last week, the only thing is that South Africa would be particularly underdone going into that tournament, given New Zealand's had this competition that's been very successful. Australia started theirs last week, and I enjoyed both games. It wasn't anything like you won't see an Australian game. I thought it was just a regular crowd there. Pockets of 10 all over the place.
Were they limited to 1,500 people?
Yeah, and that social bubble and distancing. So there was some kind of crowd there, but then as someone said when they saw the Suncorp Stadium, they said it's business as usual. 1,500 at the ground. But 2 enjoyable games. But then the big game obviously was in New Zealand, the Crusaders, Highlanders. And goodness me, didn't they turn it on in that last 25 minutes? Game at 21-20. They won it 40-20 in the end. Class apart
14 points scored in the last 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is great if you back the Crusaders, not so great if you back the Highlanders.
Yeah, and it's, everyone says it wasn't a 20-point game. And a lot of times with the Crusaders, one never feels it's a 20-point game because you can be hanging in there till 70 minutes.
Yeah.
But they just seem to produce some wonderful backline players. Again, I look at the talent in New Zealand in terms of forwards. I'm not convinced they've got a pack that could even compete with our pack consistently in terms of depth. But they've got back. You could pick 3 backlines that could go into a test match arena and actually just function beautifully. Will Jordan's come on the scene. He can play fullback, wing.
Where did he come from?
He's from the local. He's from the area. He came through the NPC. He's also only 21 years old. You've got Mahunga playing well again. You've got Cruden, who's playing well at 10. He's a veteran for the Chiefs. Damian McKenzie, who can start into 10, 15. And then obviously Bowden Barrett can play 10, 15. He's not around for Super Rugby next year. He's signed for a Japanese club, biggest signing ever for a New Zealand player, but he's still available for the internationals. And he will come back to the Blues 2022 and 23. And he's now exercised that New Zealand Rugby Union sabbatical clause. So a lot of good things for New Zealand Rugby. And to add on to what we did say last week, the biggest winners from the COVID isolation has been New Zealand.
Absolutely.
They kind of have gone back to consolidate their game, their domestic game. They are having that North versus South game, which has caused quite a bit of controversy in terms of what makes you eligible for the North or the South. And Damian McKenzie's a through and through South boy from Invercargill, but his first ever provincial game was in the North, so he's playing for the North. So he said he'll play for them, but his heart's really in the South. So people have said to Ian Foster, call it what you really, it's going to be, it's an All Black trial. And because the thing also there is if you just went to schools, you could have a very weighted northern side up against the southern side in terms of strength. But it's going to be tough for us to play them this year and over the next 2 years because of this head start that they've got. Hoskins Satutu is signed for the next 2 years for the Blues.
Yeah.
So it looks like he will go straight into the All Black mix. But yeah, our guys are out training. I know lots going on in Pretoria. Jake says he's bought wisely. He's gone within that 60 million bracket. They just want to get on the field. The Stormers have been training.
When is that? When is the Super Rugby starting for South Africa?
They're looking at ideally middle of August, but they will stretch that competition till as late as September. But worst case scenario, I understand he would pick a national between Rassie and the new Bok coach Jacques Nienhaber. They would pick a squad of 40 players that would then go into a national camp in an isolated bubble, and if they then could travel and play their games then in Australia, if they were allowed in, if say not into New Zealand, they would then isolate there for 14 days and prepare for the tournament and play their games. So even if there wasn't a domestic competition here, there would be every effort made to get the box together and to have them play. Otherwise, it would just be a straight Bledisloe Cup.
Well, I guess the good thing going on right now is the recovery of players like Bongi and Peter Steff and these people that needed some time.
Yeah, and you speak to or you read a lot about the New Zealand players, and they say that enforced recovery has done them a hell of a lot of good. That they feel they came out a lot more refreshed than they ordinarily would have been. For the most, their fitness levels were up. They kind of kept to what they were doing. That's why they don't really have an issue playing into December as they normally would have done if they were going on Northern Hemisphere tours. It's just you're going to get a different kind of pre-season next year and maybe a slightly different structure next year. More so Northern Hemisphere than us because of the top 14 that was cancelled, and it's starting up again in September. Yeah.
So South Africa to go to New Zealand, this is what you're saying. South Africa to New Zealand and play what? How many games there?
Well, if this is what they're still discussing, whether they would be based in if there's still an issue with our country as well in terms of the travel, then to get the competition done, they may host the competition either in Australia and New Zealand or just in New Zealand if it's deemed to be the safest place, and then Australia, Argentina, and South Africa would fly in, do that 14-day quarantine, and actually play the tournament over a period of 6 to 8 weeks at various grounds around New Zealand. So the key there is that they give the broadcaster games, and that kind of then keeps that broadcasting deal intact. And but all the information I get back speaking to people who are influential in making these decisions is that there's been huge understanding from the broadcaster. There's a hell of a lot going on behind the scenes to try and make these games happen. And New Zealand's response to these matches in Super Rugby Aotearoa is that they've not had COVID cases from the grounds. There's not been infections, so no
one's reporting on that, so let's report on that. It's been a great success.
It's been a wonderful success. You had 43,000 at Eden Park. You've had two 20,000 plus down in Dunedin. You had 20,000 and 15,000 at the Chiefs ground. The one that wasn't as big was the Hurricanes, their home game. But by and large, big crowds, and it's just been business as usual. But there's been a hell of a lot of respect in the way people have interacted and not been silly about it. But they've come to the games, they've enjoyed the games. They've had no issues with players. There's a hell of a lot of hugging and celebrating and high five going on. Scrums are in contact with each other at the breakdown. Not one positive test afterwards, not one infection. And so that is the good news story for me, that it can be done. And over the next 3 months, I expect it to be done in most rugby playing countries, including South Africa.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark, for that insight. Big weekend, big game this weekend.
Yeah, no, that's kind of like a bit of a Springbok All Black game, and like the Springboks being the Blues. Like everyone knows they could be strong, and now they are strong again, but how strong are they really? And it's down in Christchurch as well. So whether Dan Carter makes it 23 or not, we'll see. I think they've really earmarked him to play in the second half of the competition. But he'll give some insights. But to be ironic, if the only game he plays, or the first one, is against the Crusaders, where everything's happened for him. But we will see. Just you asked again last week, are they the real deal? I don't know. We'll see just how good they are. They're a good side, the Blues, well coached. But I still think we're just starting to see the class of the Crusaders come through in this competition. They started a week late, and now it looks like it's business as usual. And in Christchurch, I've got to back the Crusaders, and I think they'll win a bit more comfortably than some people may think, given the Blues are 6 in a row going into this, and in this competition 3 from 3.
Yeah, I mean, without seeing the teams and everything else, you know, my gut call is Crusaders, but let's see how the teams shake out and if there's any late injuries concerns. And
interesting though, what I've seen with Robertson's done in just the first 2 matches, the last 2 matches, is how he's been prepared to rotate and to play his squad. You know, to have David Havili coming back, starting at 15, Will Jordan going to the win, Sevu Reece to the bench, coming on and making an impact. David Havili can play at centre. Mahanga's got through these games with no issue. they've lost Scott Barrett for the competition, but they just also is a freshness around the Crusaders.
Yeah. Well, he's just a bloody good coach, isn't he?
He's a bloody good coach, and
South Africa can be thankful that he's not coaching the All Blacks.
I think Rassie and Jacques Nienaber, when they saw that, they were like, there is a man upstairs who's looking after us. A very interesting poll that was done in New Zealand last week. A radio host got 75 of the current Super Rugby players to take part in a questionnaire anonymously on the All Black coaching structure, and the majority of them aren't in favour of Ian Foster's appointment. No. They also not in favour of the coaching structure of his support team. But the coach who came out the front runner and the most popular out of those 75 players was Tony Brown, who marginally edged Scott Robinson, and they believe that would have been the best combination for New Zealand. Yeah. And that's who Scott Robinson wanted to go in as his running mate, but Tony Brown said, I'd committed to Jamie Joseph for Japan, I'm loyal to that, and with Aaron Major at the Highlanders. But geez, I just really think they've lost a golden opportunity. And you just look at Foster and he doesn't inspire confidence, and it's like one of those guys that...
Is he our Porto human?
I don't know if he's as bad as Porto human, but you know what he is? He could be kind of like, be our Alistair Coetzee. I just don't think
Rudolph Strali.
Yes, I just don't think we could be putting 50 points on them regularly like they did on us. But yeah, and we're talking about just how they've got it all right in the last couple of months. So wonderful to see their good players playing club rugby when they got off. And a wonderful story was Dan Carter going down to Southbridge. And for those who don't know the history of Dan Carter, he was born in Southbridge. He was raised in Southbridge. There's less than 1,000 people in the country village. He went to school there all his life. His dad put a set of poles in the back garden. That's where he learned to kick. He only went to Christchurch Boys High in Matric. When he made the country, he was making all the provincial sides as a country boy. His dad played 300 matches for Southbridge over a period of time. He's a firefighter. There's everything. I think he's like the mayor. Yeah. And he's never forgotten that club. He's come back and played for them periodically as a senior. Played in 2015, and then he played this time, his fourth game. He got his blazer finally. The old man said to him, "You're 296 behind me." And kicked 6 conversions out of 7, took a few late tackles, put in a few of his own, and said it was the greatest day with 2,000 people watching. And
your first club is like your first love, right?
And when they asked him, is your dad going to drive you home as well tonight? He said, no, mate, we're going to be walking because there's sure to be quite a few beers after this game and a good old club piss-up, So I think it was just fantastic for a 38-year-old Dan Carter to come in and play as well as he did even. It just needs that, and it would be amazing in this country even if you saw a villager play a Hamiltons or against the Scotch Cliff or Tygerberg playing the Marties, and you on those days where they're coming back from injury and they need 2 games, as they go down and they play, then you'd get 3,000-4,000 people to watch one of the top Springboks playing in a club game. And even if it's once a year or twice a year, I think it does so much for the community. They've got the fabric right again by default in this year after what happened to them at the World Cup.
Yeah, and it's nice to see some positive rugby. And
then just one final thing, the World Rugby, I think it's on the 15th they're going to announce the schedules, and my understanding from the blokes in the UK and a few reports that were in the Telegraph is that the Lions series will remain unchanged in terms of dates. So this time next year, hopefully we'll be talking about the Stormers having beaten the Lions in the opening game.
Let's hope so. Cheers.